Hey, ¿qué la que hay, mi gente? It's Rocky here from SpeakSpanishFaster.com, and in today's video, we are going to be working on some Dominican Spanish comprehension. Now, honestly, this is going to help anybody that wants to learn Spanish, but specifically for those that want to learn a Caribbean-style Spanish, like from the Dominican Republic. All right, so a quick disclaimer, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm not Dominican, but I lived in Santiago for a year, and I do have Dominican cousins. So one of my dad's sisters, my aunt, she married a Dominican, so I have a lot of family through that marriage that I get along with and that I go visit when I'm in the Dominican Republic. Now, many people ask me, what's the difference between Dominican Spanish and Puerto Rican Spanish? And if you listen to them, you will see that they are very different in the flow or the way that we speak. Now, because I lived in DR, I would say that I have a mixture of them both, depending on who I'm talking to. So if I'm talking to Dominicans, I tend to sound more Dominican. And if I'm talking to Puerto Ricans, I tend to sound more Puerto Rican. Now, this isn't something that I try to do. It just happens naturally. I guess subconsciously, I'm just trying to fit in. You know, humans, we are tribal creatures, and we want to fit in. So that gives you some good advice for how, if you want to learn to speak Spanish a certain way, definitely consume that type of Spanish, and if possible, surround yourself with people that speak that type of Spanish. Quick warning though, Dominican Spanish is super fast, probably the fastest Spanish in the world. Puerto Ricans, we speak with a similar speed, but I don't think anything compares to DR. Even when I first moved there, I was like, what the heck? But I got used to it pretty quickly, and in a few weeks, los dominicanos me tenían hablando con vaina, comiendo plátano, toda esa vaina. But yeah, I would characterize Dominican Spanish as being very flowery. It has a unique flow to it, and sometimes other native speakers from other countries that speak a more neutral type of Spanish, they don't like it because they say it's too slang, cut too much, too fast. But I really enjoy it and I prefer it, honestly, but that's just me. Anyways, what you're going to hear is a conversation between me and mi prima Marlene. She currently lives in the Dominican Republic now, and she was born and raised there, so this is as authentic as it gets. I'll let you listen to the entire conversation with the text on the screen, and then we're going to go through it together so I can walk you through some of the aspects of the Spanish to explain why some words are used or why some words are pronounced in a certain way. All right? So, without further ado, let's get straight into it.
Hey, buenas tardes. Mira, yo vi tu mensaje. Gracias por pensar en mí. Hace tiempo que no hablamos. ¿Dónde tú has estado?
Hola. Sí, yo tuve que tirarle porque usted se me había perdido. Ya su ahijado está mucho más grande que yo. Ya mide 5'8". ¿Y usted en qué estado está ya? Yo estaba en diciembre allá en Estados Unidos.
DH, ya mide 5'8", ya más alto que yo. Bueno, pues yo estoy aquí en Washington, D.C. todavía, pero yo tengo muchas ganas de regresar a la República Dominicana. Ha pasado tanto tiempo, pero tú sabes que con todos estos problemas de la pandemia, uno no puede viajar, es una locura.
Usted sabe que aquí se le quiere muchísimo y usted sabe que aquí se le debe una comida. Vuelva a la Quisqueya, vuelva a la Quisqueya. Usted tiene como cuánto, como 12 años que no ha regresado aquí. No, eso es demasiado, compa, eso es demasiado, mi amor. Venga para acá.
Sí, ¿dónde tú vives ahora? ¿En Santiago o Sabana Iglesia?
Sí, mi corazón, yo estoy viviendo todavía aquí en Sabana Iglesia. Yo fui a Washington Heights, fui a New Jersey, también fui a Brooklyn. Yo duré solamente 14 días porque yo tengo un trabajo aquí, tenía que regresar. Pero ahora en el verano yo quiero ir por más tiempo para salir un poco más, conocer un poco más. Y por aquí todo bien, toda esta mujer es tan linda y bien por aquí. Tú lo que tienes que venir para acá. Tú tienes que venir para acá. Ya, tú no tienes que estar con cuentos cuando el COVID ya vaya bajando. Usted viene para acá, que usted tiene casa aquí. Así que venga para acá, compadre, que son muchísimos años que usted tiene sin verme y todavía no ha visto el ahijado.
Sí, hace mucho tiempo. La última vez que vi a Kenny tenía como 3 meses. Ahora mismo casi un teenager. Diablo. Pero mala mía, en verdad. Pero tú no dijiste nada, no me llamaste cuando tú estabas visitando aquí. ¿Qué pasa con eso? Nada, pero estamos bien aquí. Espero que anden bien por allá. ¿Y en qué trabajas ahora? O sea, ¿cómo es tu horario diario?
Bueno, yo tengo dos trabajos. Yo tengo mi propio salón de belleza y trabajo para el Estado en un programa de subsidio de comida, luz y gas a las personas necesitadas en el país. Yo me levanto a las 6 de la mañana, comienzo a hacer desayuno, arreglo lo del niño, arreglo el niño para que vaya a la escuela. A lo que se da la hora para ir a la escuela antes de las 8, comienzo a arreglar la casa, a barrer los patios. Luego llevo al niño a la escuela, luego paso a comprar algo que necesito y eso. Limpio la casa, organizo el salón. A veces comienzo a trabajar temprano en el salón, cuando no comienzo a trabajar temprano en el otro empleo. Si no consecutivamente, trabajo en la mañana en un empleo y trabajo en la tarde en otro empleo. O sea, un ejemplo, hace media hora yo terminé de mi empleo secando pelo como estilista. Entonces mis días son un poquito ocupados.
Ok, bueno. Ya la de Kenny. Vi la foto, se ve muy grande ya. Parece que lo está alimentando bien. ¿Cuál es su comida favorita? ¿Comida dominicana?
A Kenny le encantan las carnes, los pescados, le encanta la langosta, el marisco, la paella. Kenny tiene unos gustos, el sushi. Él es, él es fanático del sushi. Eh, Su arroz, su habichuela negra, con su pollito horneado, frito, ensaladas. Pero mayormente lo tenemos un poquito a dieta porque es un tragón. También ya come su yogur, su queso, ¿sabes? Kenny es un niño un poquito, como digo yo, un poquito adulto porque él se inclina más al lado de los mariscos, al área de comer langosta, de comer camarones y cosas así.
All right, so now let's kind of go through this transcript. And I want to point out a few things that can help you with this Dominican Spanish and just help you understand Spanish overall. I think a great thing to do is to kind of close your eyes and listen to how things are being said and then see what words are being used. Because when you start picking up on those patterns, it will help you better understand Caribbean types of Spanish, and like Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban styles of Spanish or types of Spanishes. So, for example, I say, ¿Dónde tú has estado? So, sorry, there should be a question mark after this. ¿Dónde tú has estado? I say, ¿Dónde tú has estado? ¿Dónde tú has estado? So, when you start hearing that, when you get used to hearing that, you will know that that's what I'm saying. But if you've never heard that before, ¿Dónde tú has estado? Said like that, it probably will sound, it'll be difficult to understand. Now, one note that you'll see a lot because both of us um, speak a Caribbean type of Spanish is that we put the tú or the pronoun in front of, even if it's a question, we put it in front of the verb. So the proper or the quote unquote proper way that you would hear this in a more neutral style Spanish would be ¿Dónde has estado tú? Where have you been? ¿Dónde has estado tú? Or if you ask somebody, what are you doing? It might be ¿Qué haces tú? But in Caribbean Spanish, we put the pronoun in front of the verb. All right. So, ¿Dónde tú has estado? ¿Qué tú haces? For what are you doing? So, that should give you a little insight. Now, I want to focus more on Marlene because that's the whole purpose of this video is to focus on the Dominican Spanish. But the last thing I will say about my own Spanish specifically is if you watch some of my videos where I do only in Spanish, you'll notice that the Spanish is much different than the Spanish I use in my conversation with Marlene. And that's because on the channel, I speak a little more neutral, a little slower, because we have students of all levels, and I want to be able to be understood by beginner students. And I think it's important to speak clearly so that beginner students can consume the input, and it'll make it easier for the input to be comprehensible for them. But notice when I talk with Marlene, that's how I probably talk on a more on a daily basis with friends and family. So you'll hear a lot of cutting the S's
a lot of putting words together and things like that. So you'll see this oftentimes if you're speaking Spanish with somebody and they know that they're not talking Spanish with somebody that's from maybe their country, they might neutralize. I'll say that neutralize their Spanish a little bit. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Now, the main thing to focus on with Marlene, you'll notice she does some of the same characteristics that I do. Cut the S sometimes. She might be very soft on the R, and she's actually from Santiago, which is the northern part of the Dominican Republic, and they call it El Cibao. And the Cibaeños, which they call it, they speak with the I rather than the L. So where I might say hablar instead of hablar, some of them might say hablai instead of hablar. Now, she doesn't do that much because she's, I would say, very educated and speaks very clear, and she speaks more neutral and more clear than many Dominicans. So if this was difficult, she does speak fast, but she speaks more neutral, which makes it a little easier to understand. But other Dominicans speak as fast or faster, and they cut much more, which makes it even more difficult to understand. So we're kind of lucky here that Marlene speaks in a more neutral way. So the one thing is just get accustomed to her flow. So it's like, yo tuve que tirarle porque usted se me había perdido. Like that's kind of the Dominican flow. And again, it's better if you listen to her do it because that's her natural way of speaking. So definitely listen to the audio a few times. So now I just want to go through the script and point out a few words that might cause some issues. So I say diache. Diache is like dang. So where diablo is like damn, diache is like dang. All right. One thing you'll hear me do a lot is I cut the D's. Ha pasado tanto tiempo, pero tú sabes que con todo esto problema. So I cut a lot of my letters. Uno no puede viajar instead of viajar. All right. Let's see. In Marlene, I mean, you could just hear, sabe que aquí se le quiere muchísimo. That's the Dominican flow right there. Vuelva a la quisqueya. La quisqueya is a word used for the Dominican Republic. It's kind of I don't know the exact history of it, but it is referred, la quisqueya. When somebody says la quisqueya, it has like a historic connotation to it, but they're talking about just the Dominican Republic. You'll hear her say, venga pa' acá, and then she says, venga para acá, but that's what she's saying. Compa is like compay, which is like compadre. You'll notice where she doesn't say like mi amor. This is where you might hear her sound a little more of the I. It sounds like mi amor, where it's a little mi amor rather than mi amor. So be on the lookout for things like that. And it's good now that I tell you to be on the lookout for things like this, it'll make it, you'll hear it more and you'll understand it more. And the more you do exercises like this, where you really listen to specific sounds, the easier it will be to understand Spanish in the future. Let's see any other words. Like I said, she speaks very clear. She doesn't use too many Dominican words, but of course she still has that Dominican flow to the way she speaks. Let's see. So, tú lo que tienes que venir para acá. Ya tú no tienes que estar con cuento. Like, that's kind of the Dominican flow that you will hear. So if you want to speak more Dominican Spanish, all you have to do is kind of master that flow. And once you hear it and understand it, it's easy to imitate. Let's see. So even mine here, I said, mala mía. En verdad, tú no dijiste nada. No me llamaste cuando tú estabas visitando aquí. ¿Qué pasó con eso? So that's more of like my Puerto Rican accent. It would have sounded different had she said it. She probably wouldn't have said, ¿Qué pasa con eso? She would have been like, ¿Qué pasa con eso? Like, it's just a little different flow. So in the beginning of the video, I said, people asking what's the difference between Puerto Rican and Dominican Spanish. Even though we have a lot of the same characteristics, cutting the S's, removing the D's, putting words together, things like that, we have a little different flow. And I think this video will be a good comparison of me versus Marlene speaking, and she's just straight Dominican with her Spanish. Let's see. This here, I love this section here. She talks about basically her whole day, what she does. I know we did a video not too long ago about talking about your daily routine, and she basically followed, that's why I did that video, so you can practice talking about your day, how native speakers talk about what they do on a daily basis. And she talks about it, me levanto a las 7 de la mañana, and she just talks about everything she does throughout the day. Let's see. And then we talk about Kenny. So Kenny is her son. And I asked pretty much, what's his favorite types of foods. And she talks about Kenny le encantan la carne, los pescados, le encanta la langota, el marisco, la paella. And yeah, so she talks about all the food that Kenny likes. So I highly recommend you go back through the audio and you listen a few times. And now that you know, like, okay, Rocky cuts his words like that, or Marlene cuts her words like that, or she omits the S here or there, it'll help you understand the conversations better. And then the more you listen to Dominican Spanish or Puerto Rican Spanish, the more you're going to become accustomed to hearing those changes, and the easier it will be to understand. And of course, the more you consume that, the much more likely your output is going to contain those changes. And that's why I always talk about it's very important to consume the type of Spanish that you want to speak. Because if you hear us saying certain words in a certain way over and over again, that's how you're going to say them when you get comfortable enough to start speaking. And yeah, so that's pretty much the Dominican Spanish. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'll definitely be sure to get Marlene on more of these videos. I want to get Kevin on some more of these videos just to continue to give you some more looks of Spanish, and maybe I'll be able to get some of my friends from other countries that aren't Caribbean based. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video and you are looking to improve your Spanish, definitely be sure to click the link in the comments. I will pin it there. It's speakspanishfaster.com/YouTube. And that's going to take you to my free gift, where it's basically like an article. It's a guide where I tell you my 3 biggest secrets to learn Spanish faster. These secrets will help anyone that's learning Spanish, no matter what level you are at. I guarantee it will help you learn to speak and comprehend Spanish better, faster. If you have any questions, be sure to comment. Let me know in the comments. Please don't hesitate. Hit the thumbs up for me if you liked the video. That'll let me know that you want to see more videos like this. And last but not least, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss another video. Hasta la próxima vez. Hablamos.